Welcome everyone. Today we have another new episode, and this episode actually we're going to discuss about fintech and future of new banking system. We have our respected professors as well as he's a member of U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Jos Mela. So we love to know more about this fintechs and future of the new business and banking, and we love to know more of your backgrounds and what area you are working right now.
Well, firstly, it's an absolute delight to meet everybody who's listening into the stream at the moment. My experience has led me through many years and many veins of technology, starting in investment banking for 11 years with a very prestigious US firm. Then moved into new technology ventures. And throughout my career, having worked with people like Samsung, Atos Origin, HP, SAP, and finally ending up in the auspices of assisting and now setting up some new structures with the Chamber of Commerce.
Mhm. Okay. Like at present example, like it's a transforming process, especially new technology are coming. COVID has a lot of challenges and many interesting things happening even in business industry. But my question is that how actually different countries people actually aware about these fintechs, and when we discussing about bankings, even many banking systems has lot of challenge. So especially like providing credits, and sometimes the returning from the credits and other things has many challenges. So how actually fintech help to make a transparent banking industry's ecosystem?
I think and it's a very good question. As you've seen, the financial industry is a very staid industry, and a lot of the tier one, tier two banks have huge infrastructures. These infrastructures take time to transform. The advent of the fintechs are the new growing breed of people who work in distributed ledgers, who create applications showing what the big banks can't do at speed by creating innovation. It's a growing market. It's an increasingly difficult market as well to succeed. A lot of entrepreneurs, and hopefully entrepreneurs around the world, when you take on the journey of creating something for the financial industry, there are many shortcuts you can take,
Mhm.
but planning is always of essence, and
Mhm.
that will usually make your company or your venture succeed. But
Mhm.
banks need innovation. They don't create technology, they use technology. So
Mhm.
fintech is an essential part of the growing ether of the new world, from blockchain to apps to aggregators, right through to, dare I say it, digital coins.
Mhm. Mhm. Thank you. So as you discussing about digital coins and what the present policy, like different governments, how they taking this initiative, how they implementing this kind of fintech technologies, and what the real scenario, real world industry is happening. And yes.
It's a good question. My firm belief, it's a consolidation of the old and the new. The old sets the regulations. The regulations have been put in place, um, and people think they're archaic. But in essence, all these regulations have been put in place to protect the individuals that use the services. So processes are correct. Fraud cannot happen. Money laundering cannot happen. They are set in stone. The fintech era has done wonderful things in terms of being able to speed up the way that decisions are made, that the processes are examined. that regulations can be implemented and tested. So not only do you have fintech, you have regtech right up its tail, looking at areas of compliance and speeding that up in areas of natural language processing, machine learning, AI. These are the new cutting edge techs that are able to read documents that are normally not read by financial institutions. Everything's everybody assumes processes are followed. The digital coin that you're discussing, that then becomes how the world is moving. One of the interesting things of COVID is the increased use of contactless payments, the avoidance of usage of cash.
Mhm,
There are some fundamentally wonderful changes happening, and the digital forum is pushing this forward.
mhm,
Um, so if you have a look in the news, you'll see the IBMs, all delivering types of distributed ledger technology, which I firmly believe is going to be the undercurrent of the financial industry for the next 10 years.
mhm. Thank you, sir. We have our new guest, Madam Rain, and she is expert of fintech and banking industries. Ma'am, can you please introduce you of your background with our audience, and how do you want to analyze the fintech and future of banking system? Can you
Hi,
unmute yourself?
everyone.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Uddin. Right now, I'm currently involved with the Family Office Alliance. I'm the co-chairwoman with the Family Office Alliance in U.S. chapters, and I'm heavily involved with fintech and financial technology as well. And we foresee a lot of financial change in this industry, and I would love to share what our experience is.
Mhm. Ma'am, I just want to know, like example, as you are working with the fintech industry as well as banking systems, like how it helps, like that, like the grassroots level peoples. Especially, I want to know more how it helps the remote areas peoples. So, what your analysis? How do you want to share your experience?
Could you repeat that question?
Yes, my question is that how do you want to analyze, like from this
Hello,
fintech? Can you hear me?
hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, could you
I
repeat
think
that?
yes. My question is that can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you right now.
Okay. My question is that this fintech service, how it helps the grassroots level people, like example, the root level peoples. Yes,
Mm.
there are banking industry, big industry actually working. Beside that, how the micro initiative, small business, small organization, small medium enterprise actually getting the services through this fintech technology.
Oh, that's a very good question. So I have several examples I can show you. For example, there are some what do we call, micro lending through DeFi technology, which means there's no centralized lending system. For those little or micro entrepreneur or business, you can just get lending from peer to peer lending and through DeFi system. So which means you don't have to go through a central banking system, and everybody could have to opportunity to get the lending. So that would be very beneficial to the micro business. And also, I see there are a lot of, for example, a lot of philanthropy works. A
Mhm.
lot of people trying to the blockchain system to beneficial for the people who cannot normally get the support from central system because they could just use DeFi system that people could just arrange them from peer to peer support. For example, if you want to support certain system or network that you cannot find the help through central system, but there are someone or somewhere else you could get the help, and that's through DeFi or decentralized system. That could be beneficial for those people a lot.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, come up with a very important point like decentralized system. How do you want to analyze these decentralized systems? How it works? Like as we have many observer from different countries, especially from developing nations, like technology wise, like this fintech, how it's effective for decentralization.
It's a very good question. Thank you. So DeFi is a still relatively new technology for blockchain or finance industry, but it's going viral right now because people say it's future by breaking down the central power by control every process because everybody could have the equal participation in this system.
Mhm. Thank you. Mr. Jose,
Yeah.
like how do you want to analyze this decentralized process and integration with micro level business?
So this is where it becomes very interesting. And following the point from our lovely Utem Ren, the if you understand
Hi.
what hi there, um, if you understand what the technology does, then perhaps that makes things for those who are not aware. We talk about centralization and decentralization. Let me put this in terms of banking, of day-to-day banking, where a small business may be doing business with another country. So let's put some examples. Say, for instance, um, we'll put some good examples. Say, for instance, India's doing some business with Malaysia.
Hmm.
Two institutions.
Hmm.
They could have two
Mhm,
banks. This is the current process. Two banks working together. You
Hmm.
want to send, for instance, you, Sharif, want to send money to our lovely Yuting. But what happens in the system today
mhm.
is in order for you to send money, the two banks may not speak to each other. So
Hmm.
then they use corresponding banking. And what
Right.
happens is your money goes from here to the United States, gets processed in the United States, and then goes from,
Mhm.
let's use the example, you're in India and Yuchen is in Malaysia. It will then go in that route through a centralized banking system for record. Now, what happens in the new decentralized structure?
Mhm.
The regulators are in for
So
each
you want to
country.
compare to what's a centralized banking system to what currently changed, right?
Yeah, so we're just giving an example of what the decentralization does here.
Hello.
Hi there. So this is what the decentralization would do. Now, for instance, you would operate in a blockchain.
Right.
So the two banks in the two countries are actually working together on the same blockchain,
Hmm.
and they send the money
Right.
in seconds rather than days as it's traditionally taken. That is the new decentralization strategy, still managed and regulated by the central bodies. How it affects small companies is because payment is done in time, it's efficient, you
Right.
have less cost overheads
Right.
waiting,
Right.
Hmm.
you ledger your money immediately.
Right.
These are this is wonderful, especially if you're, for instance, if you're a supplier waiting for an international payment. This is one example.
That's very good.
Another
Information.
another example is, and this often happens, people working abroad wanting to send money to their siblings. That money takes time and cost. This decentralization and the use of fintech actually speeds that process up and costs you less money. That's the beauty of the tech we have today, already happening.
Hmm. Thank you, Ahmed. How do you want to analyze more point, especially features of fintechs? Actually, Professor Jose already shared with us.
Right. I think this is a very great observation. What we saw in the international transaction, it saves a lot of money to do the international transaction, and it's just going simultaneously. It's arriving in your account in exchange, and the matter of fact that there are a lot of problem happens, between international wires or international transfer, sometimes it's just like over control of the foreign currencies. For example, some kids want to send some education fees to their, foreign college or universities. Well, they cannot do that because they are certain control of their currencies. But if they could do something like a blockchain or their cryptocurrency, they could just send that right away. So that going to be beneficial to the both parties or not. And also, there are a lot of small business, for example, export and import business. Uh,
Hmm.
do that with regular transfer money. It's going to
Hmm.
get their government approval. It takes a long time. But if they just going to with cryptocurrency, a lot of times people use coin so that they would not lose their value, and they could avoid the currency rates fluctuation, which means they don't lose their value while their counterparty gets the money. So that's going to beneficial a lot of international business as well. The matter of fact, more and more business are going to get benefit from blockchain and fintech as well.
Hmm. Thank you. Mr. Joes, my second thing is that, like example, we have interactions with developed nations and developing nations. Most important thing is that we are working with different developing nations. Let's say Malaysia also developing nations. You give example for about India or China. Both of them actually have many things to improve. So how like these fintech industries help them to grow their economy in this COVID-19 situations. And second things, I just want to know more about how it create more job opportunity, because every country is struggling a lot, especially many people lose job in this economic recession times. So how, what your observation?
Good question. So let's tackle it. Let's tackle it going back many, many years to put a paradigm shift to your question. Many, many years ago, computers were introduced. And when those computers were introduced, the first thing that everybody said is everybody's jobs would be lost and that we would use less paper because everything was electronic. I counteract that 20 years later after that statement, computers actually created the biggest industry that existed, from developing things and spin-offs into computer healthcare, artificial intelligence, 3D animations, computer games. Computer games are now one of the biggest industry, blockbuster with a huge amount of employers. So there's your paradigm shift. So what COVID has done is actually forced companies who had very who didn't have online systems, who used who used archaic internal systems, who had no internal structure, to now begin to re-examine the power of one, the web, the Amazon Web Services of this world, and the Azures, and how hosted solutions work, how fintech in specific areas could maybe reduce payments, maybe reduce billing costs. Fintechs do things in niches. They're not solution sellers. So they will fix particular problems for particular industries. And if you think of fintech as that, where jobs may be lost because things have shut down, it actually will also present itself new opportunities. If we do not buy in supermarkets, we're going to have to go online. If we go online, we're going to have to make the products better, the searches better, the technology to find things even easier, because that's what consumers will want. I believe it's now going to spur a new era of development, as it did 20 years ago.
Mhm. Thank you, sir. uh, Ma'am, my questions to you regarding women entrepreneurships, because from the developing nations we are observing, there are many women, they are joining in the business industries, they are contributing for the business, especially social business and micro business. They are contributing a lot, and this is the new era that we have to solve these things, because we need more women participations in entrepreneurships. So in that situation, how these women can utilize this fintech, and how they can get benefit from the system.
I think that's a great question. Because you could see more and more women participate in this new economy, especially with the fintech world. One of the co-founder for Binance, one of the very big blockchain exchange. You probably heard about that. It's called Binance. One of the co-founder, she's a woman as well. So there are a lot of women participate in this new economy because women have the intuition to see what's changed subtle in this industry. But I think what's going to help women to work together is utilize the blockchain technology. Because there are a lot of United, because I involve a lot of United Nation project. There are a lot of United Nation project that's helping women. For example, for some women in for example, in India or China, some like little village, they have no way to make a living. So they have to sacrifice their life, to doing something they don't want to do. But what those UN training program will teach those women to make some product. Like for example, some of the women could make some very beautiful art. So they could help to teach them how to sell those arts in some blockchain, platform. For example, there are what we call NFT token right now becomes so hard for many artists because artists finally have the tool to make the arts valuable. That's how it's the same way to going to help women. A lot of women's work are never be recognized before, but right now they have the right tools to get everybody participate to recognize and value their works.
Mhm. Thank
Mhm.
you. Mr. Jose, what
Can
your
I just
observation? Yes,
can I
yes,
just
yes.
yeah, I'd love to add a point to that. I think I think if you really want to understand what this type of economy does and the empowerment of women, I think women have been some wonderful drivers of some of the greatest technologies, and now you're seeing them being the forefront of many powerful companies internationally, banks, technology companies. Um, One of the things, and it's not just fintech, by the way. You're seeing the advent of little, even small things like 3D printers
Hmm.
radically changing how we do things.
Hmm.
When people can design differently, it's almost sex agnostic, but computers don't differentiate between male and female. It's the entrepreneurship that is
Hmm.
now beginning to come through. A lot more female entrepreneurs are forming and coming through. It's becoming a lot more prevalent. I had the pleasure of meeting through a couple of fintech forums in the United Kingdom, a wonderful lawyer, a female lawyer from Ireland, who decided to create an online system for notarization. And all of a sudden, she's being funded. People love her idea. It's unique. And it's that type of, and it's not the differentiation between men and women. I feel now it's if you come in with a great idea, irrespective of your gender, you should be supported all the way through. And females should not be afraid to come up with ideas that could actually turn or change an industry.
Hmm. Thank you, ma'am. Uh, as you are discussing about women entrepreneurships and different kind of funds and other things, but thing is that skill developments, and I want to know from both of you how, especially youth communities or education institutions, different students, they can develop their skills in these fintechs related things, let's say blockchain technologies and other things, how they can grow their skills.
Oh, I think that's a very good question. In matter of fact, it's still very new technology. I think more and more universities are start open a course for that. I think that's a very good way for them to learn that. And also, I think participation is very important. There are many ways that they could participate with a blockchain. For example, there are some works by like what do we call there are a lot of what we call airdrop. For example, there's one company that I'm working closely right now. It's called UR Group. They are going they are more like the current phase of the next future of YouTube or other video platform. What they do is they are going to have their video in their platform, but meanwhile they are going to reward people who watch the video. As everybody knows that for everyone watch the YouTube video, and the more users you have, the more income you will have as a YouTuber. But UR is going to give them the reward for their audience. So instead of for their bloggers or YouTubers, they're going to reward their audience to watch their shows. So it's going to help the normal people in that way as well to participate in the blockchain movement as well. So that's one example I'm giving, but there are many projects like that, and UI is very innovative on doing that. So I think it is very great to try that.
Thank you, Mr. Jose.
Again, a very interesting question. If you have a look at what the youth and the universities have today, universities are beginning to recognize that there are certain technologies being put to the forefront. Fintech as such is not pushed to the forefront. That's an innovation in itself. What's happened in fintech, and let's put this so for everybody who's listening, fintech is an examination of the financial industry and finding something to fix using technology. And that's what fintech's all about. It's improving, whether it's improving payments, whether it's improving how a letter of credit works, whether you pay your bills on time, or you can build up an insurance policy and counter fraud. This is all about fintech. So as you're looking at how do we educate the youth of today into that area, it's a hard question because, and this will hopefully make people who are listening smile a little bit. The fact is the youth of today are more involved in Xboxes and PS5s and wanting to develop the new game, which is already a multi-billion industry in itself. It's a really exciting industry. And as Uddin actually said perfectly, the new advent of not just YouTube streamers, there's websites, there's date side streamers, there's everything. There's this whole streaming industry set up where people just pay to watch people, which is quite fantastic. So when it comes down to the fintech relies on innovative, curious minds that can be tapped to actually change the old into the new. And you're seeing financial institutions, the new coming on, like the Revoluts, the Revolut Banking, the Monets, who have created this new super slick, and they're kids in the banking world. And the beauty of that is they're bringing in younger people who can actually spur the innovation in the institution. How does that carry on? I can't answer that question. I would love to see governments programs say we're going to invest in people understanding, and this is what it comes down to. It's coding. If you know how to do tech and you understand business and you can combine those two, that's the business that you're talking about today.
Thank you. You think my major things as fintech industry growing, on the other hand, we are observing previous banking system has many more challenges with their payment system, with their credit, and every system has many challenges. So what do you think, this fintech industry completely replace this present banking system, or this present banking system will find out their own way with different things? What your observations?
That's a very good question. As my observation, I think most banks and institutions realize the problem and realize the challenges. A matter of fact, that one of my friends, he's the chairman of a very one big institution. It's a public company, and they realize the problem they are facing right now and the challenges. So they launch. A matter of fact, a lot of financial institutions, for example, like Barclays or some other groups, they launched their Fintech innovation group, which means they started a fund, and they are investing different little small financial or fintech startups under their own incubators. They are going to help them to grow as part of their internal system. How they could catch up with the current technology and the modern technology. That's the one way they are facing the challenge right now. But I think most of the institutions, especially financial institutions, realize the problem. And the most common ways is they starting their own venture capital or their own fintech fund or fintech innovation center and help fund those startups to help them to how they could build it into the internal system. That's what they're doing right now, most of them.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Interesting. Uh, so the financial institutions, let's have a look. So when you're looking at this from, and let's break the banking down. Tier 3, which is very commercial banking, Tier 2, which is the hybrid, and Tier 1, which is all the common top 100 banks that you know and speak of about today. The top tier banks are changing, but they're big architectural systems that have to change. They are already, you can watch it in the news, they're in blockchain, they're developing their own systems. In fact, this is very unusual. They're all working together to create new systems together because they see the benefits, not because they lose money in transactions, but they actually gain more in cost savings. The ledgering process will speed up tremendously. It means the eyes to the regulators will be a lot faster. So they will encompass good fintechs. And for anybody who's listening and you're thinking of setting up a fintech company to tackle a particular problem, there's a number of things that you should always look at. Is this going to be a long-lasting solution? What is going to be your strategy? Because when you end up working with the financial institutions, there's two routes that may take. Either you get incorporated, you get bought out, or you don't make it. And those three risks are always going to be there. And they should be prevalent in your mind every single time when you start a journey to change something in banking. There's a lot of competition in fintech, and very few make it to the top. You don't want to dispel anybody's idea, but it is forums like this that can educate the people who are listening to say, plan, understand what you're doing, understand your industry. Don't just develop a technology because you think it'll work. Understand where you're going into, how you're going to be regulated. These are very, very important things to consider because the banks are doing it today. And a lot of fintech companies don't actually do it. And it ends up causing them a hell of a lot of problems. Fintech can create changes. It already has. What the big banks will do, They'll do what big banks do and make a change.
Thank you. Ma'am, my question is that regarding policy and strategy, because we need to involve with government. Government has more powers and they have more control over corporations as well as universities and other things. So how we can create better policy and strategy for fintech and future of banking system?
Hello.
Yes.
Hi. Okay. So you want me to explain what do you think about regulation wise for the fintech industry, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's a very good question. Because you will say that even uh Bitcoin or other cryptocurrency, they getting viral in different countries, and a lot of people start using that. But the more and more government, like for example, U.S. government, realize that is one area they need to regulate. So you will see most of the exchange right now, they will have the KYC system, which is know your customer. You have to get all your information down. Just make sure like every transaction is like the same transaction as banking system. So that's what they are start doing right now. But still, many countries don't know how to regulate that. So they will just totally ban those cryptocurrency. But they're still trying to figure out the way how to do that. For example, a lot of countries like China, and they pretty much, have no idea about how to make better regulation right now. They are learning that. So I believe, eventually they will make very good regulation about how to regulate everything in the cryptocurrency world. So they will make better, yeah, they will make better policy. But this is a very early stage, and most countries are still learning that, and they learn how to make the better policy with that. The cryptocurrency is like money. It's like how you control the money flow. Pretty much, they will use the same the same system or philosophy. But this new technology is different as well. So I think most governments still have their own team are starting this and they're trying to make a better system with their learning and trial experiments as well.
Thank you, Mr. Jose. Regarding policy and strategy.
So it's interesting as you look around the world, different countries have different thought process, as completely highlighted there by Uting. So I know for the European Union is now about to launch the 25 country digital coin. The United Kingdom has literally banned any bank account taking any cryptocurrency gains. So regulation and policy is already beginning to kick in. The US government is now talking about banning any Bitcoin proceeds. So these things you will see generally, and it's my firm belief, cryptocurrency will die eventually, and digital controlled currency by governments will exist. There is no way that you can replace a coin with no mass, which is hyped up because there's only a few in existence, will take over. The rupees, the pounds, the dollars, the yens of this world, they will just become digitalized. And that is the new cryptocurrency of the world. So it will be regulated. And what I actually see, and this is the big change, as we are moving towards a digital economy, and you are seeing this, COVID has actually pushed that. A lot more things are a lot more people are now using digital machines to take payments. As that moves on, so will the world of anti-money laundering, of the KYCs. Everything will begin to get shared distribution services. Your data will be protected, but it will be enjoyed by a lot of parties that you transact with, so that your data becomes consistent. It will change the way that we are, probably within you'll probably see big changes, maybe just within 5 years. That's how quick this is moving.
Thank you. As both of you are futurists, I have actually different questions. Like, what type of technology? What are the, like, if you mark 3 or 5 technology will change next few decades? Uh, Even though now we have a lot of challenges, what type of technology we need to adapt, and we need to change all of our lifestyles and everything.
So okay. So speaking about the top five technology we want to make the change, add on to fintech, right?
Yes.
Okay. I think yes, I think what Professor George Jose make a very good summary about the combination with the current regulation and also with current deregulated world. It's probably we're going to be one trend because we are trying to find the balance between that. And the second I really want to say is a DeFi system. The DeFi system is it's just so huge. It changed so many people's life and also for so many industries as well. And it's revolutionized many industries as well. And for example, the one example we just given, it is some artists. They never could sell their art collection before, but right now with the what we call the NFT token, they could sell their arts collections to different buyers who are interested, and that way they could achieve their achieve their value. And also many musicians, they did the same way as well. And for many people who is just undervalued with what they do, DeFi going to help them change, how people value their works or not. And also, I think there are a lot of technology in like cryptocurrency as well. But of course, there are so many cryptocurrencies that probably will need some certain regulation, as the professor was just suggested. I think that would be like very good trend. Once people have more trust, I think that's going to help this market become much better as well. So that's another observation I observed. Of course, Fintech itself is a big industry, and it's revolutionized many industry as well. For example, Airbnb. I think many people have used Airbnb before. But what I have heard about that there are a lot of platform like a DeFi platform like Airbnb or decentralized platform like Airbnb. You can just Airbnb. You have to book your listings through Airbnb, which means centralized. But if you use decentralized platform, you could just book any listing from peer to peer. So that's going to change this in many industries like the same way as Airbnb as well. So that's one trend we have seen right now. So maybe Professor Hase have more observation as well.
Thank you, Mr. Jose.
Sure.
Okay, so here's an interesting one, and you've heard these quotes, and let me repeat them. The biggest advertising company in the world is who? Google. Yet it has no adverts. Google has no adverts. The biggest taxi company in the world, who up to a while didn't have any taxis, was Uber. The biggest hotel in the world, hotel chain, as rightly said by Uddin, was Airbnb. And it goes on and on and on with the aggregated technologies. If you look at that comparison as to how fintech will affect us in years to come, my firm belief is your banking will purely exist on your mobile phone. Your mobile phone will be it is already the computer. It will be the computer when it has more and more security features. The benefits to you from fintech, things that annoy you today. So I'll give you some classic examples, Sharif. Have you ever taken something to a supermarket or you've bought an item, it's faulty, and then they say, well, it will be on your account in 4 to 5 working days. Have you heard? You've heard that from the shops? They'll return your money in so many days. That's going to disappear with this technology. The horrible things that will happen with the technology is instant billing is going to happen, but so will instant returns. So there are many benefits and side effects to all this new technology. Can you predict it all? No, because you never know what a fintech or a company will do to change your lifestyle. Um, I think it's always good to imagine and to assume, but there will be many, many practical functions of everything from the blockchain being able to work out, or a fintech company working out how much power you need to charge your car to go and see your grandmother. It will be able to do that type of tech, and it will tell you the cost of it and withdraw that money from your bank account at the time that it's withdrawn just by you saying okay. These are the types of things where I personally would never be able to answer it, but I think I'll use the phrase of a very famous man, and that was Albert Einstein, to say the following: imagination is the fountain of all knowledge. It is only for you to decide what may come about of it and what your future will be by using fintech technology. Apologies, I seem to have lost a little bit of bandwidth here.
Mhm. Hello. Yes. Yes, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. There are some internet-related problems. Mr. Home is correct.
I do hope Mr. Stoner's there. Yes, it
Yes,
cut
yes,
out for a second.
yes, 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 yes. So we are discussing about specifically the policy and strategy and next level. That what are the next like future technology will change our worlds. So yeah.
Oh, good question. What's going to change our world next? The paradigm shift, which is which is on everybody's lips, is quantum computing, the new realm. Th- This is the ether, the next level of computing that is going to change everything radically. So we've already got speed. This is going to be speed on steroids. So everything will change. Decision making, building, robotics, the way we do leisure. Um, I think if you begin to realize now, technology has begun even to affect all different types of businesses and areas. So you've got people like Harvard Medical doing artificial intelligence surgery. We have wonderful people in the United Kingdom now doing rugby research with gyrometers to actually study impact of two people hitting each other uh, to protect the players during games for any future industries. Technology is just, it's going to evolve our lives. How it integrates, it could be anything from Back to the Future to whatever futuristic film you want it to be. How will it affect us? Dear Sharif, I could never answer that question because every time you try to predict how technology could affect you, it surprises by jumping 20 streets ahead. One prime example of this, which I'll show you. So, funnily enough, if I do have one just hidden away here, it's funny that a little company called Sony Ericsson produced this little device close to 20 years ago, which was the predecessor of the iPhone with the little flip. And now I have mobile phones. This couldn't do much, but it still had apps. Now I'm sitting on a phone where I can do my accounts, my emails, I can do PowerPoint presentations. I'm talking to you internationally through a protocol that didn't exist 10 years ago. How do we know where technology is? It's a great question. I just want to be in the future to see it. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Homestoner. We are just discussing about the fintech and future of the new banking systems, and in this stage, we are discussing that what are the few technology will change our lives. So, what your observations and how do you want to share your experience with our
Well,
audience?
I invited my dear partner and friend, Mr. Marco, because nobody knows more about this than he does. And believe me, I have a worldwide organization, 500,000 members, and he is the guy. Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
He is, Mr. Marcos there has been there and done that for every major bank and every major financial institution in Europe. Okay. You're not going to find and talk to anybody that's going to know more about the future of money than the money man.
So, just to follow on from our wonderful, thank you very much, Holmes. But just to explain, through my career, I've been through investment banking. I've seen the advent of SAP and Oracle that started the infrastructure world of financial institutions. I saw the comings and goings of some of the best technologies in terms of support systems internally. So the question comes, and it's a really good question. The economy of banking has evolved from, and you'll see this if you have a look at history, it's centralized, decentralized, centralized, decentralized. Technologies come, ebb and flow, and then privacy comes. But now we're seeing, even though we're talking about a decentralization strategy, I believe that's actually the worst word we could ever use. Banks are working together to create proper centralized platforms that are visible, that are historical, that are transparent, that drive down costs, and ultimately, if those are achieved, will drive more transactions.
Thank you. Thank you. Uh, we have our another guest. I think you think Rain. She's also
Oh,
joined. Thank you for
Eugene is
joining.
here. Hello,
Yes.
Eugene.
Hi, I got lost there for a moment. It's so happy to join back again.
Okay.
Eugene, I
Okay.
want to introduce you to my partner in London.
Hi,
His name,
We've
everyone.
his name is
Hi there,
Jose
Jose
Marcos
Marcus.
Mena.
Thank you for having me. So I'm Yutin Ren. I am right now in charge of the McCormick Family Office. I'm in charge of the Asian Pacific. I'm chairwoman for that. And meanwhile, I also serving for the co-chairwoman for the Global Family Office Alliance, which have all these famous family office from global world. And also practice a lot of philanthropy works. So I in charge of the foundation for support of United Nations. I'm the chairwoman for that. I we did a lot of charity works by helping the education and also for help the poverty in those little villages as well. So that's what I'm doing, and it's very happy to see everybody here.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Homestoner, you are running US Chamber of Commerce and many important organizations around the world. My you and you are also supporting our initiative World Talent Economy Forums, and you are doing a lot of things. And most important point of view is that vision is important. Even when we working with the youth communities, we find they are very talented, but that how they can focus in their visions, because definitely this how you become big with your all of the organization. It's not 1 or 2 days, year and year you have your objective. So how the youth communities, especially the tech area, those who are involved as an entrepreneurs, how they can set their visions for the futures.
Well, we have a saying here in the U.S. It's called "Nobody plans to fail; they fail to plan."
Mhm.
Everything is about the plan. Everything needs a strategic plan, and I'm sure that both of my colleagues here will agree with me that without a plan, you have no chance of survival.
Mhm.
The plan is the most important thing,
Mhm.
and you never get out of the way of the plan. The plan, you put that focus and finish with the plan.
Mhm.
Chances are that it'll be successful, but you still have an error factor, but not like you would without a plan.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
And
most of these business plans that I've been reading over the last 10, 15 years, and you Ting and Marcus will tell you this, that there are three major things that you look for when you look at a business plan.
Mhm.
First of all is who's running the company and what is their level of success in the past. Have they been successful or they have not been successful? Or have they
Mhm.
done anything? Do they have experience? Number two is who are your competitors? Who are your competitors and how are they doing? Okay. Are they doing okay? Are they losing? Are they falling the wayside? Or are they being successful? And if they are, why?
Mhm.
Okay. And the third part is your exit strategy. So your exit strategy is everything. So you've given me these projections of how you're going to do for the next 3 to 5 years, right? And how
Mhm.
I'm going to make money back investing with you or taking you
Mhm.
to the public market.
Mhm.
Okay. What are you going to do when you reach that level? What is your decision? Are you going to go as an acquisition target? Are you going to try to merge with somebody? Are you going to stay a private company? Or do you want to go public and raise money by selling stuff? What do you want to do? So
Mhm.
me as the guy, as Marcus will tell you, as the investment banker, I have a decision to make here. And that decision involves millions of dollars. Okay.
Mhm.
And you've got 30 seconds to tell me how I'm going to spend that millions of dollars. Because if I don't like the answer, it's not going to happen. Okay. The young people have this dream and stars in their eyes with no plan.
Mhm.
And that's my biggest criticism of young entrepreneurs is they have no plan.
Mhm.
Okay. And that's the thing that I would advise any young person that's going to go out and start a restaurant or start a car washing business or make leather purses. I don't care what you're doing.
Mhm.
You have to know who to have in your management team. You got to know exactly who your competitors are and how they're doing, and you got to know what you're going to do if you meet your projections and your expectations.
Mhm.
That's as simple as I can make it.
Mhm. Thank you, ma'am. Yes. How do you want to analyze, madam? How do you want to analyze these planning issues? Because Mr. Homestoner specifically focus on how the youth communities, young entrepreneurs focus on their planning and develop their strategy.
It's a, I think it's very smart that our chairman Holmes says that planning. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It is very important. But for a lot of young entrepreneurs, I think they're just running for their passion until the problem happens. So that's one of the hurdles they really need to overcome. So I think it's going to be very helpful if they could learn history and if they could learn how to plan better. I think that would be very helpful for young people and also control. Sometimes you have to control your passion and overly passion stuff as well. Because by follow your passion, you get a great place. But if you blinded to follow your passion, sometimes you will ignore all these things you could anticipate before. So I think it is very important for young entrepreneurs, especially for young generation right now.
Mhm. Thank you, Mr. Jose.
Thank you.
Fascinating question. I would do this in a very typical American style and say high five to Uting and Holmes on the planning. It's absolutely essential. There's a couple of fundamentals that if you are a fintech company starting up, the first thing that you have is the planning of your business. What's really important is before you go on your journey, learn other people's mistakes. There's hundreds of cases out there of why companies failed, and not one fintech company I have ever met can tell me a story of failure, which is ridiculous. They have to learn why companies failed because that helps them plan for the future. That's number one. Number two, when you get a fintech, the excitement for the young entrepreneurs, the females, the males, the kids, the people who have the brilliant ideas, is that first bit of funding. When they first meet the people who put the money in them saying, I believe in you. Believe you me, half the people who receive money are in the biggest problem from the day that they start. And the reason being, it starts off like this. You're either going to get funded by a VC firm that really doesn't care about what industry you're in. You're just a good bet. And when that happens, and this is knowledge, because I've been through it myself, what happens is you end up being underfunded, and within a short period of time, you're already looking for more money, which already begins the stresses of setting up business. So for the young entrepreneurs, there should be courses of understanding how to set up a business, what the pitfalls are, what investment is really all about. And if you're a fintech, you've got to remember one thing. It's not all about payment processes. You're regulated. It's compliance. If you don't understand the psychology and the psychometrics of the business that you're dealing with, you will never go far in finance at all. You will go completely, it will just go completely wrong. The other thing I'd recommend, if you really want to do a really good fintech business, create a fintech business that doesn't rely on a software sale, okay, and then maintenance. Because quite simply, you're not big enough as a fintech to be able to support that type of infrastructure. It's impossible. You're working with a big bank with maybe 20,000 employees, and there's 10 of you in the fintech company with a great idea that the big companies buy. Now you've got to support 8,000 users. The mathematics don't work. You have to, and that's where the planning comes in. So recommendations for everybody. If you want to do the fintech world, partner up with some people who can actually provide that support infrastructure on your technology. Plan for enterprise architecture. And the last little bit is, don't think because you're competing with other fintechs, okay, that everything's down to cost. Because what you're working with is financial institutions that have economies of scale. They're big companies. They know what cost is about. They could give you a cost plus because they have the economies, and your perception of what a cost is not what a bank's perception of a cost is, because they have multi-millions of customers, and the bank's your only customer is the fintech. You have to learn the business. Again, what Uddin has said and what Holmes has said, plan, understand, don't just go in with an idea. Learn about the industry you're going into, and if you're not sure, ask somebody.
I've seen so many of these young people, especially in China, that bitten into this cyber money, this cryptocurrency, and they turned it into kind of like a multi-level marketing kind of thing. And they're out there peddling all these different kinds of currencies and all these different places where people can buy coins and all this sort of thing, and getting everybody all excited. But the problem is nobody really understands it, because only the people that are in it understand it. Right? And do you guys agree with me? When
Yeah,
I talk to everybody that's in the cryptocurrency, I don't understand half of what they're saying.
I'll give you a quick example for all of the entrepreneurs there playing in Bitcoins, loving the Bitcoin world. the Doge coins, the Dog coins, the Kodak coins, all the millions of other coins that have existed. Let me tell you one thing. If you want to read irony, read the US press today, where Elon Musk announced, this is what happened today. Elon Musk announced you can buy a Tesla car in America with a Bitcoin. And then at the same time, the US Treasury announced that we're going to outlaw Bitcoin in the United States.
There you have
Learn what you're doing. It's an interesting world.
It's an interesting world. And everybody is that's into it. I've talked to a lot of people. A lot of our members are in it, and they have this gold rush. This thing that they're going. This is the magic key that's going to open their world. And bitcoins are $30,000 each or something. Their world has never seen anything like it. All I can tell you is I've been around Jose Marcos a long time, and he knows more about money than everybody I ever met. And he's the one that will tell you the truth about this stuff. This is pie in the sky, gold rush mentality.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am, Rin, yes. How do you want to add some point because this is very interesting discussion, Yes.
I think according really, I think this is very interesting. As our chairman Holmes says that most people actually don't know what they are doing. Even like well, what professor said that like a Dogecoin, all these coins, like Dogecoin, they have unlimited supply, and the people still believe it's very valuable. It's very valuable for certain value, but it's unlimited supply. So which means you could as much as you can. Most people would never understand what's behind the system. They will just buy because they believe the second day they're going to get better value and then they're going to get more investment return. That's pretty much everybody speculate in this industry. And one of my friend who is very smart in Fintech industry, and all his stuff, he got to a Ph.D. Very, very smart. And for some paperwork he was writing for Fintech, nobody could understand what he was doing. And, and
that is funny.
And he still get a lot of money for people. But because everybody believes the future, even they don't know what the future looks like, but that's what they believe. That's the future, and they will just get excited. Everybody else, it's make me remind you a lot of history, like tulip bubble, and of course it's different. But it reminded me like they were just thinking what everybody is doing.
I mean,
yes.
just to add a few points. It's really fascinating because you will get people on here who will always have the skepticism, and they'll say, but a lot of the banks right now they're opening crypto desks and they're actually trading crypto, and I said, well, you have to think like a financial institution to understand why. If they're going to trade it, they've got an exit point. If they've got an exit point, it means they're looking at this as a pass-through commodity. So, of course, if they can get on the gravy train for a little bit, they're going to. They're financial institutions. And it's fascinating, all the different views from around the world. And I use the words given to me by a wonderful friend of mine who said, the reason it's called crypto is it's because it's bloody cryptic. So that's why.
Yes, Mr. Homestoner. Yes.
What would you like to discuss?
Okay.
I get a kick out. I get a kick out of him.
Okay. So yes.
When it comes to transactions, and we're all about transactions. We're a business council. We're a chamber of commerce. And we're a connectivity service. And our job primarily is to make things seamless, easy, convenient, and see things grow organically. And if uh, something comes along, some new technology, AI, genomics, automation, computerization, crypto, whatever, we need to look at it, investigate it, and evaluate it. So that's what we do on a regular basis. And this world of fintech and the way that things are going so fast in the financial area, uh, caveat emptor, as they say, beware the buyer. Uh, it's wild and it's the wild west out there, and people are trying to figure out a way. But the sane people like you, King, like Marcos, the sane minds will prevail.
Mhm.
All these crazy traders of this crypto, they're going to come and they're going to go, just like the hula hoop.
Thank you. Yes.
May I add one more point as
Yes.
well?
Yes. Definitely. Yes.
Another huge failure of fintechs, and this always does amuse me. If fintechs stop actually, the beauty of fintech companies that have existed that have done well is the ones that have done well haven't stated that my IP is brilliant or the whole technology is overinflated. It's actually done a job and it's done it really well. When you start seeing companies who praise their own technology and their own IP, and I've said this on the other side, where fortunately I've had an opportunity to invest a couple of times, I've said to them, your IP is only a code away from being changed.
Mhm.
And please, as a fintech company, take those words into mind. It only takes one change in the process, and your IP is useless. You can't take it, you can't compete with it. It's something else already. Never overinflate your technology. Keep your technology working, current, and fast moving. And if
Mhm.
you keep that nimbleness as a fintech, you will really succeed.
Mhm.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Staying,
Yes.
staying on top of the technology.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes. Madam Ren, you want to add some point with our discussions, or I direct? Yes.
I think we lost her.
Yes. No. I think she is online still.
Oh, that's
Yes.
good.
Can you unmute yourself, please?
Hi. Oh, okay. I think the system just got a little bit interruption for whatever reason. What can you repeat your question?
No. Like example, they are discussing many failures, even success of this fintech technology. So, what do you want to add? What your observation regarding some of the difficulties of this technology?
I think a lot of difficulties. Um, well, as I think our chairman Holmes just explained, most people, I think they really don't know what they're doing right now in the fintech industry. I have to be honest to say that because we have seen many successful and many failed business in fintech. Some of the founders know what they're doing, most of them are not. So I think the most difficult things right now is about the knowledge in fintech industry and in the blockchain industry. And there are more and more universities are opening the course for that, which is a very good thing. But still, the knowledge need to be picked up. That's the current challenge for this industry as well. And also as a team operation, as we just explained, many cryptocurrency are played like multi-level marketing. It's getting people excited. It's trying to driving up the price, and uh, Well, I think they just need a better structure, a better team to operate in better ways. I think that's another challenge we face, in the current fintech startup for many businesses.
Mhm. Thank you. It's really discussion, like good discussion, and I'm sure it's very good content for our youth community, our policymakers, our corporations around the world. So we are connecting with many developing nations with the help of developed nations, and Pacific Rim Chamber of Commerce is really great organizations, and they are contributing a lot, especially for the business industry, and they have many genius like Ren, like Mr. Jose, and Home Stoners is a great leader, and he is doing many interesting works around the world. So hopefully with these contributions we can change our life, especially in the COVID situation. There are many challenges we need to solve together. So World Talent Economy Forum actually focusing on that area, that how we can create more opportunity for our youth communities. So thank you everyone for joining these sessions, and we want to continue more session like this with your support with the Pacific Rim Chamber of Commerce. I directly want to go for the concluding remarks for today. First, Mr. Home Stoners, then Madam Rain, and finally, Mr. Jose.
Well,
Thank you very
what Mr. Sharif has not mentioned is he handles our affairs in Malaysia and
Thank you.
Bangladesh,
Thank you.
and he is very low key about it, but we're very excited to have him as one of our presidents.
Thank you, sir.
And we know that that part of the equation is well handled by a gentleman and an educator. So I think that where we're going here with these different topics that we can all discuss and bring in VIPs from our group and can interact with Mr. Sharif's part of the world and learn more about what's down there, and because he's the expert, and we can bring in and connect and get our people to grow. I'm very excited about the relationship.
Thank you, sir. We want to arrange a series. If you allow me, every Saturday we can discuss with the president of your forum, and they can join, and we can learn from each others. And
Yeah,
anything
we'll set up for tomorrow morning, and
tomorrow morning.
to
Yes,
tomorrow morning my time, because right now it is about what time is it there? 7:30, about
yes,
10:30 for UT, and I don't know what time it is for Marcos.
yes. I can start from 11 a.m.
Yeah, 11 a.m. is a good time for all the people.
Okay,
Uh,
okay,
and then we'll talk about the future of the entertainment industry.
okay. Thank you. Yes,
Okay.
Madam Red.
thank you. This is very great. I think Pacific Rim is always provide so many opportunities for everybody to learn and participate, especially for the futuristic discussion, which is very pioneer works in this industry, and very good leadership. And thank you, and as well. So I think I'm very thankful for joining this and discuss with everyone, and how we could have discussion like this, and we could share what we experienced, and thank you for this opportunity. And I think this is amazing, and our chamber of commerce is amazing too. It's give us everybody opportunity to participate, to learn, and also it's open everybody's mind as well.
Thank you, Mr. Jose.
So, firstly, I'd like to thank you for the invitation and hosting
Thank you.
this today, because it's been a lovely discussion. It's been a delight to speak with you, Uting. Holmes, it was funny that only half an hour earlier I was calling you, and then we're still on the show talking to each other, which is quite amazing anyway. But thank you. To all of you, a fascinating topic. It would be really interesting to listen, or if you get some feedback as well from the audience, or if there's any questions that perhaps come up. I think we'd be delighted to give some ideas or thoughts in that process. And again, thank you, and a delight to the co-guests as well to have you all together.
Thank you. There is some audience response. Just thankful always for learning more from all of you. So they are really really grateful to you. There are many audience, especially from Asia Pacific, need all of your support. Please share our content as much as possible. I'm sure everybody will learn more things about fintech industries, at least from the today's sessions. So thank you everyone for joining today's session.
My absolute
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank
Bye bye.
you.
Bye bye. Take care.
Bye bye.